Hello everybody, Darren here, and today I'm going to tell you about Möbius Front 83. Now this is probably one of the most obscure games I've ever covered on the channel. It came out on the 5th of November, and it's by the developer Zachtronics, which is what originally caught my eye. Now, these guys are known for making Infinifactory, Space Chem, Opus Magnum, and Shenzhen IO. These games are extremely highly regarded on Steam with overwhelmingly positive reviews, and they're just known for being extremely cleverly designed, tightly packed puzzle games, as well as a little bit of story, and sometimes they breach into tactics games as well. And this game is a bit of a combination of all of those things. It's definitely a tactics game, but it is also arguably a bit of a puzzle game, and it's got some story elements in there as well. So essentially the game is a 1980s America, where there's an alternate reality America invading, and you have to fight back the invaders. And there's a bit of story around that. Now, I don't know much about it. I'm still on Chapter 1. We're 8 missions in. I've played maybe 5 to 6 hours. I guess it depends on how good you are, how quickly you can maybe progress through that campaign. And I haven't learned too much more about that, other than the Steam page told me that it is an alternate reality America. But our boys on the ground are a bit unsure with why there's so many defectors on the other side. They think it's the Russians. So let's have a look at a little bit of the story here to give you an idea of what you can expect.
Whoa, see those guys? They're from Fort Riley. Yeah, they're stepping it up.
Oh, reinforcements. Finally.
The fighting first. Got in a fight with 2 of them once.
Mm-hmm. Is that how you lost your nuts?
You want your ass kicked too? 'Cause I can arrange that.
Oh, I'm all good, boss.
So that's an example of some of the story. It's quite frankly pretty basic, quite simple. I guess it's kind of mocking 80s cartoons, G.I. Joe, that kind of thing, a little bit. You know, it's very campy and over the top, and you just got these stereotypical characters. I wouldn't really say the story's been all that interesting. There's been 8 missions, and it's like, just like that, like 6 bits of dialogue maybe just before a mission, setting up what you're about to go into, slightly. That one didn't even do that. Anyway, so this is a find and destroy the enemy SAM sites preventing air operations mission. So this game is extremely difficult. I'm playing it on the standard difficulty. You can also play it on relaxed. I haven't tried relaxed, but standard is very, very punishing. The AI definitely feels like it just has all the advantages. They're given more troops, and it's up to you to kind of figure out a way to break through them. This is why I said it kind of feels like a puzzle game. So let's just jump into this mission, and I'll talk about, or I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alrighty, we have loaded in. So this map that you're seeing here in front of you is the fixed map of the entire playable area for the mission. So we can't move our camera. What you see is what you get. Nothing is going to change. It is pretty static. And this is why I say it's kind of like a puzzle game, right? Because even the objectives are going to be in the same location every time. So I know that the 6 missile batteries that we have to destroy, 3 of them are up here and 3 of them are down here. And this is kind of where the game has its first little bit of a falter, a bit misstep, I think, because it doesn't show you that. You have to kind of scout the map and figure out where things are, and then you can just replay the mission and you know where they are. And I think this is actually encouraged. Like I said, it is like a puzzle game. It wants you to know these things and then just basically tackle them based on the tools that you have, with a little bit of RNG in there for how units will fight each other, which we'll get to. So a bit of a misstep. I just feel like if you're going to keep them in the same place, you might as well show me where they are. It would inform my strategy of how I can approach an area, rather than send a helicopter up, watch it get shot down, reload the game, and then be like, oh yeah, I know they're up there. Alright, so let's get to the deployment phase. So basically we have phase 1, which is where we deploy. Phase 2, every 5 turns there's another phase. So in 5 turns we'll get 5 more deployment points to call in a little bit of extra stuff. And phase 3 we don't get anything, but they do. So we can kind of see that they've already spent 10, they have 5 in the middle, and then 5 at the end again. So it's just good to be aware of that, knowing that you're going to be coming up against more. Alright, so let's deploy. So here's all the list of units that we have available to us now. Now I've played this mission a couple times, but lost it. I've never actually beaten it yet. But that is true of all the other missions. I probably did them once or twice before I figured them out. So we have, just for the sake of the video, I think I'll try a range of different vehicles and things here. So let's go with the M60 Patton, and then I'll explain some of the mechanics as we get moving out there. We'll call in a couple of helicopters. I think I'm going to put one here and one here. And let's see, call in a mortar carrier, and I'll explain these as we go. Actually, I'll call in the transport first, and then a mortar carrier, and I think that'll be it. So essentially, because I played this before, the only other thing I know about the map is there is an anti-armor vehicle there, there's an anti-armor vehicle here, and there's some sort of artillery down here. So my first approach is going to be to go down and attack the south, and then wheel up north. when I originally tried it, my first strategy was to attack the north, but then I got peppered by artillery and I realized, oh, that's always in the same place, that's not moving, so I'll go down this way this time and try to take that out first. So we'll see if that works. For the anti-tank vehicle that's here, I know that its range is actually only 3, whereas my range is 4, so I should be able to hit it from here. It's not that I had to learn that off by heart, you can see it when you see it, it's just I remember, because I just did it. Alright, so that's pretty much our entire deployment. So, just before we get into it, the only thing I'll familiarize you with is some of the tooltips here. So if we have a look at the M60 Patton, the main battle tank, we're not carrying any cargo. If we put a unit into this, then we actually can't fire its weapon, but we could put some infantry into it if we wanted to, just 1. Its speed is 3, that means how far it can move. It's M85 heavy machine gun. On the left, we can see that it does damage to infantry, vehicles, and air, all for the same amount. So damage is between 1 to 2, so you'll do either 1 or 2 when you fire at it. So there's a little bit of RNG in there. Its range is 3, which means it's 3 tiles out, which gives you a nice ruler tool so you can kind of see what you can hit. Obviously, if you're trying to hit beyond forest, you cannot. And then we have different types of weapons. We've got the M68 105mm heat round. Only does damage to vehicles. We can't attack infantry with it. We can't attack air with it. Its range is slightly increased to 4. Its damage is obviously increased. Now, next to these 2 damage values, it has an arrow pointing and then a 1 to 4, right? Or an arrow pointing and then a 1. And this means that if you were to fire while moving, that's what you'll do. So for the heavy machine gun, the very first one, if we were to move and then fire, we know that we're always going to do 1 damage. Just 1, blanket, it's never going to change. You can't miss, just 1 damage. So that's kind of how it works. So pretty simplified, pretty simple, basic like understanding of like what the tactics are there. Now, this tank is actually kind of interesting because it has an M239 smoke discharger, and we reduce incoming damage by 2. So if we feel like we're in a particularly vulnerable spot, we can just discharge smoke and hopefully reduce that by 2. Now, the only other thing to pay attention to is in the very top right of this tooltip, there's like 5 little digits, and 2 of them have a line going through them, and that's our armor. And that's basically it. So let's let time play, or let's end the turn. So my initial strategy is basically informed on how I played this before, but after about 2 or 3 turns, then it's going to be kind of a free-for-all again, and we'll have to see how things go. So we're going to move our Patton tank up. I'm just going to get out now. We're going to land these down. Actually wasn't hit by the attack helicopter there, which is nice. And now that we've landed, we can send these guys out. So infantry there. Infantry there. Right, so that's 4 infantry squads. Now that we're in the forest, we can still be hit. Like I said, they have artillery, so they'll probably hit us with artillery. I don't know if they need vision on us. It seems like they just know most of the time, but maybe they do have vision. I'm not too sure. Being in the forest, you can only be attacked in the forest if you're attacked by someone adjacent to it. So if you're in the deep forest, no one's going to be able to get you unless they're also in the forest as well. But if you're just in the forest on the edge like this, they can't attack you if they were, like, for instance, here. They wouldn't be able to attack in. We'd be able to attack out. But if they're here, they could attack in, no problem. So that's kind of how that works. Now that we're landed with the UEs as well, we can fire in a range of 2 around us. So over to here and here, we could fire and hit infantry with our MG. That's basically how that works. And we'll bring up our mortar as well. Now, I decided to keep the anti-armor team in here. I'm going to keep them in here because they've only got 2 troops, 2 health, basically, with them at the moment. And they're pretty valuable because they can actually aim up to a range of 3. Most infantry can only do a range of 1, but they can do a range of 3, but they have to deploy first for their anti-armor weapon. What do they have? M47 Dragon ATGM, of course. So to deploy that, you know, we need a little bit of time for them to get set up, and they're vulnerable to that artillery peppering them all the time. So if we keep them in the helicopter, at least they're a little safer. Slightly. Is that it? Alright, let's try to go a bit faster now that I've explained the basics. I will say that the game starts off and eases you in quite nicely, actually, though. It doesn't really throw all this at you at once, which is good. Let's keep moving. Right, so there's one of those M113 armored personnel carriers. That's one of the ones we saw before with the M40 105mm heat round. It would do crazy damage to a tank if it's able to hit it, and it's deployed already. It's not going to be doing much to infantry, though it might. It could do 2 damage, killing half the unit. But if we jump up on them with 2 units at once, these guys are carrying M72 Law anti-tank rockets, doing 2 to 4 damage. So a couple of those into one of these, even one could potentially take it out, but 2 should do the job for sure. Right, so we're gonna fire while moving here, the M68 heat round. I'm actually out of their range. They can't get me, but I can get them. So we just sit back and fire. There's no ammo. There is sometimes for units, but on our units right now there isn't. I might keep these guys in this vehicle and drive it up here potentially. Gotta be really careful with this stuff because the game is so punishing if it goes wrong. I'll bring them up here. We kind of want the AA gun on this to help protect our helicopters, right? We got that mortar up behind us now as well. The mortar's not going to do anything to this. So the mortar basically does 1 damage, but like I said, they have 1 armor, so they're always going to absorb the 1 damage. They're never going to take a hit beyond their armor. So there's no point firing on them with that. And what's our range? Our range is 6. We can hit stuff. If we get visibility beyond the tree line, we can actually hit stuff on the road, which is what we want to do. Yeah, I've got an idea. I'm going to move the helicopter next to the other helicopter and then transfer one of the units into the other one. So we have to land next turn. And that way we'll have 2 rocket teams in 1 helicopter. We could just deploy them somewhere. What would be nice is if we could get the rocket teams to use that extra range they have to fire out from the tree line or something later to hit those AA guns. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. I'm being very slow, but being very methodical here. Right, that artillery has just fired on us, did 1 damage. Attack helicopter came in to jump on us as well. Unfortunately, I can't do anything against that attack helicopter without bringing this unit down. That's what I said, like the AI is just so opportunistic with that stuff. It feels so unfair, like this rifle unit's just going to be hit by anything. But we're just going to... And the other thing that's weird is I can't go below the helicopter. I'd love to run out here, but I can't. So we'll just, I don't know, try to fall back a bit. The artillery's range, by the way, is the entire map. Sometimes you're given that artillery yourself, but obviously in this mission we have not been given that. Yeah, I'm gonna... First off, we're gonna land this guy. We're gonna get this anti-armor team to get in there. This anti-armor team to get in there. So that's a helicopter now taking 3 anti-armor teams. And if I move my AA gun around here, they're just going to move that away. So I'm going to go through this way. Alright, we took out the anti-armor gun. So these 2 riflemen are going to be the guys that are going to try and jump on that thing as best as they can. It'd be so cool if you could mortar the helicopter, but unfortunately you cannot. We're going to stay where we are for now. It's a bit safer. Yeah, we'll just wait where we are. Okay, let's end the turn. Want to get visibility over the tree line so we can fire on some stuff. Oh, they actually missed us with the artillery. So that's pretty good. So artillery does have a chance of hitting at a different hex. So when they fired it, they actually hit this empty hex here. This tank then, or the armored personnel carrier, did 2 damage to us, and then the attack helicopter did 1. And there's no way to get your health back, by the way, so that is what it is. Alright, we're firing our Law. Good. Gonna get these guys out now, so if they go into the forest there, they can get visibility. That's good. Not in range of our mortar just yet. The tree line actually blocks us from hitting that helicopter. That helicopter is going to be a nightmare. But soon we'll be able to call in another one. Can this attack the air? It can actually, yeah. Might want to bring our tank down that way then. Alright, they get more units in 5 turns, by the way. 4 turns. So that artillery hit us like I expected. The MG hit us for 2. And they took us out with the armored car. And they have more room to do even more. So great, didn't work at all. They did exactly what I said they would. They take every opportunity they get. They make you feel every mistake. Well, luckily we got a good hit. That's the best hit we could have got with that rocket, which is a 4 damage, just taking out that vehicle completely. So, a little bit of a trade-off, I guess. We lose a rifle unit, they lost an armored car. Although they do have more units, though, so you got to be constantly thinking about that. Alright, got it. Right, the tank rolled through and took out the armored car. And these guys can't do nothing to my tanks. That's good. Let's bring this down this way. We're almost in range of their air. Good thing here is we've got 3 units in this and we've got 1 unit in this. Another thing that's worth mentioning is it doesn't technically matter if you lose units. As long as you get the objective done, you're fine. It's just a linear-based story, mission-based campaign, so nothing carries over, which I guess is a bit disappointing to some. It's going to be rough. Right, the armored car has been taken out. That mortar is proving very useful. We're going to move it to this point next, I think. Not going to drop these guys off just yet. Still going to wait. I think they're going to be my ace in the hole. We're going to bring them up here, drop them down, and just run straight in this way. That should be good. How much infantry do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 units of infantry. God, that tank is getting peppered. It kept its tracks, though, so we're okay. So this will, no matter what, this will win. Good. Good shot. Our mortar can take out... Oh, we actually can't. They're slightly out of our range. Could take out some of the infantry that's coming towards us, or go for that. Yeah, we'll take out the infantry. Oh, we missed. The mortar missed. Goddamn. Ah, cool. We can just drive past the Huey. Oh, they do have more stuff in there as well. Worth noting. Let's see where that vehicle goes. It's all about the armor, where that armor goes. They could take out our transports. They've got units in them, actually. Artillery just fired right in front of itself. Ugh. Oh my god, they took out the transport with 2 units in it. Oh, fuck. Damn it. Oh, I messed up. Oh, we still didn't even take out the artillery. Goddamn. Ah, I've screwed this right up. Well, that's pretty much the game, I think. Those guys never set up. They didn't have time yet, so... There's nothing I can do. God damn it. I think my strategy was sound. I just made some key errors. But again, this is like the 3rd time I've done this mission. This is the best it's gone so far. I've never actually got to the point where I was actually in there. Oh, it's just helicopters left. Well, we'll just click abandon mission on that one then. GG. Alright, exit to campaign. Alright, unfortunately, I did get defeated in that mission. I was hoping to pull a win out of the bag for the video, but it wasn't to be. I think it's actually a pretty good showcase of the AI. You know, they're quite aggressive. They're very, very difficult. They take advantage of your mistakes, and they make very few of their own. Now, that was a capture the SAM site location mission. There was also missions I've done before, which is more of a territory control one. So it's like... they've got A, B, C, and D, and you have to capture them in that order, and they'll try to push and capture it in the opposite order. So that's kind of fun. It's like a little bit of a tug of war back and forth. I'm not sure if there's any other game modes, because I've only played those 2 so far across the 8 missions. There are some interesting things, though. As you're kind of playing and you're unlocking these optionals, the optional is to capture the TIS 330. If you do that, you actually unlock something like this, which is basically these training manuals that you can read, and they're these giant PDFs that you can kind of go through, and they're actual... real training manuals that they've included in the game, like real from the 1980s or 1970s. It has a bit of information here about them. It's quite fun, like little addition to kind of read through it. You can actually just go into your game director if you want to read them yourself anyway. And it's all hand-drawn art and stuff, which is quite interesting. And it's kind of like a lot of what the game was based on as well, which is quite cool, and where they got the equipment from. The other one is like a whole entire game. It's Cribbage Solitaire. And it's using a deck of cards that's like an actual deck of cards from the 1980s. You know, it has military vehicles and weapons and stuff on them. So it tells you all the rules and stuff. It's a weird mini game to play, but I actually quite enjoyed it for some reason. Maybe even more so than the main game in some ways. But essentially, Cribbage Solitaire, I don't know, the best way to explain it, you've got a starting board here. You have to get to 61 points. You get different points based on how you kind of pull cards together. It's a game you can play by yourself. It's not meant to be like... well, solitaire, you know, you play it by yourself. So, for instance, if I grab 2 8s here, that's a pair. We get 2 points. If you can add up to 15, you get 2 points. If you add up to 31, you get certain points. So there's all these different rules about what you can do. And then you have to kind of like economically pick different cards from each different like kind of lines or columns that you have here in order to kind of build your score up. I've never beaten it. I also find this really difficult. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting, kind of fun, like little mini game to play on. So once you get to, if you're going to blow over 31, then you have to roll into the stack. So unless you get more points by adding more cards, you're kind of being inefficient. So I was just being efficient there, but I'm not really paying too much attention. So we're just after getting another extra points for having 2 kings, but having a queen, you can't pull the next queen because we're going to blow over 30. So you got to be a bit more economical with how you use the high level cards. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of a little fun little game. The best I've gotten is 48, by the way, just for anyone curious out there. So yeah, that's kind of Cribbage Solitaire. And that's the game. A really obscure game. I know it's a really weird thing to pick on. Also, there's another thing you can get. It's like a radio, like a hacking minigame. I think you get it if you do this level. I had it before, and it's gone. I don't know why. I think it's because I did capture the TIS 30 at 330, and it appeared, but then I guess I didn't finish the mission or something. I don't know. Either way, it's not there. So a very obscure game. You know, I actually think the game is kind of ultimately overall good, but kind of mediocre, and it is obviously quite cheap. But I do think it's one of Zachtronics' weaker entries. I just don't think it's as tightly refined as their other games. But I like the overall concept. You know, when you're in that kind of middle of the match and it's all about like the tactics and the interplay of the different units that you have, it can be quite fun. But unfortunately, I think it just suffers from this kind of linear mission-based kind of campaign. The story is not all that interesting, at least not to me. It is in premise, but there's been no mention of this alternate reality as of yet. And I've played like 5 or 6 hours. The minigames are kind of fun, cool thing to unlock. If anything, though, it has just kind of highlighted a few more Zachtronics games that I have been meaning to try out. So hopefully, even if this game in particular hasn't necessarily done anything for you, maybe you'll be more inclined to look at the developer and check out some of their other games. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. I know this is a very obscure video. I don't know how it's going to do. I imagine most people haven't heard of this game, probably won't be clicking on it either to even care about finding out, but hopefully those that do found it somewhat interesting and entertaining. Alright, so that is it for the video. Let me know if you like this kind of style of video. I'm planning on doing just a few more of these to kind of flesh them out. They're not always going to be indie games like this, but it's more of just a casual way of looking at a game that I've played a little bit of already. I'm able to kind of give you a bit of information about it and kind of tell you how it plays, basically. Alright, that's going to be it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.